Hey, everybody. You are about to hear a brief retelling of the movie Lady Macbeth. Before we get started, hit the like button and subscribe. It may only be a click for you, but it has a significant impact on the channel. Is it feasible to marry for convenience? Of course you can, but be prepared for the karmic boomerang. But Katherine didn't consider the repercussions. Alexander marries Katherine, a modest young girl who has no family or tribe. He is not as young as Katherine, but he possesses a considerable purse and resides in a magnificent mansion. Why wouldn't he live there? It's the 19th century, right? But Alexander's father, Boris, also lives there, a terrible and evil old guy who needs this wedding for some reason. Yes, and the newlywed husband isn't very sad for his young wife. Following the wedding, he prevents her from leaving the house. And the first wedding night causes Katherine to reflect on life, being, and going beyond. So begins her family life, in which the entire noble family does not include her in anything. Katherine spends all day sitting on the couch. Yes, the work is demanding, and it is difficult not to fall asleep. In the evening, Katherine attempts to stay awake at the table while her father-in-law's spouse and guests talk about the trip to London, but she can't take it and exits. Boris catches up to her and pounces on her, telling her that she should always stay awake and wait for Alexander, just like a chico. Even the maid is instructed not to let his daughter-in-law sleep until his son gives the go-ahead. After speaking with his buddies, the man asks his wife to remove her clothes and stand facing the wall. Katherine obeys, but either she isn't good enough for him or her husband isn't feeling well, so he doesn't touch her again, preferring independent manual labor. Alexander leaves in the morning without even having tea, and Boris, eating an omelet, informs Katherine that he is heading to London. Yes, you can learn from the beauty and stand at the wall to stand. Katherine, relieved that everyone has finally departed, breaches her husband's ban and proceeds to walk in the field. Back on the walkways, she falls asleep, but she is curiously trampled outside. She captures an odd image, or rather, Anna in a strange pose. Katherine scolds the staff as she releases the maid. But she is intrigued about how much she weighs. But when she is put in an unpleasant position, Katherine reconsiders. Back at the house, Katherine encounters an already dressed Anna. The maid informs her that this integration has been brazenly orchestrated by a new laborer. Sebastian is a creative artist. Katherine is unable to sleep at night due to her thoughts about what happened. She is lonely and would like to establish friends with someone. Katherine wanders through the field in the morning, breaking all of the rules, and encounters Sebastian walking with his dog. Since then, the terrible handsome has not left her mind. Katherine thinks of him in the evening, while warming herself by the fireplace. Her wet dreams are abruptly disturbed by a tap on the door. Yesterday's comrade entered. Katherine struggles to resist the overwhelming sensation, but the process has already begun. In the morning, Anna discovers Katherine sleeping in Eve's costume and begins to make assumptions. But Katherine doesn't care, she's in love. And, while her wild folks are away, she relaxes with Sebastian, not even in code. Worried for her mistress, Anna informs the local priest of Katherine's affair, and he pays her a visit in order to redirect the woman's energy toward the truth. Digging potatoes or cutting wood, for example. Anna, while collecting mushrooms in the woods, comes across a man. She warns him that he would be in danger if Katherine's husband finds out, but Sebastian begs her not to inform Alexander. The next day, old Boris returns from London, looking for a quick drink on the road. He asks Anna to bring his favorite beverage. The maid says she can't bring it since it's run out. When Boris inquires as to how this is possible, they reveal that they have a full cellar. Anna remains mute so as not to offend Katherine, who, along with her partner, drank all the alcohol while he was abroad. An enraged Boris tells Anna to crawl on the floor. After learning of his daughter-in-law's activities, the grandfather goes to the barn and punishes Sebastian. He also has numerous questions for Katherine, but she has no intention of hiding anything. She is shameless, for which she receives a good slap. Boris walks to his office in the morning, after a lovely breakfast of mushrooms and porridge, unaware that he will leave only feet first. Yes, Katherine knows her way around mushrooms. Katherine sends Anna for the doctor, and feeling accomplished, she goes to the basement and frees her sweetheart. The doctor arrives and declares that Boris has consumed too many mushrooms and should be buried with honors. Katherine soon receives a letter from her husband informing her that he is concerned about her father, but he has business to attend to, so she decides the matter alone, which is not a little one. Katherine plans the funeral ceremony herself. She even takes pictures with Boris in the end before becoming the boss of the household. For the time being, no one else is stopping her from being with Sebastian, but Sebastian is worried that Anna might blab. After all, she is the only witness, but Katherine is sure that the maid will keep quiet. One night Katherine is awakened by a noise outside the window, and when she looks out she sees that Alexander has returned. Hiding Sebastian on the balcony, she pretends to be a Valinok and pretends to have waited for her husband all these days without closing her eyes. The husband asks if they made the bed every night for two, or what. The saying goes, yes, every night. You did not inform me when you will be, and it's good that it turned out that way. But he doesn't believe her. Plus, he finds a man's belt in the room. But Katherine gets out of it, too. She lies that she found it in the fields and tucks it into her skirts. The wife offers tea and Alexander drinks it eagerly. Then he tells his wife that he knows about her affairs with the laborer. He orders Katherine to leave the house, but the wife does not want to leave. Knowing her husband's weakness for theatrical productions and Tarabanca with her, she decides to please his eye and brings Sebastian, with whom she immediately begins to fondle. That is, to put on a play. When Alexander sees all this, he drives his wife away. He wants to organize the play with Sebastian, but Sebastian is against it. In short, she kills him. Next, they decide to bury the man in the woods without honor. Katherine even puts the horse that brought them to the woods to sleep. And the next morning, Sebastian, dressed in the rich costume of his former owner, finally settles in the mansion and behaves like a master. Katherine is happy because now she has a luxurious house and an active man. But the happiness of the lovers does not last long. One day it is broken by an elderly woman named Agnes. She comes to the house with her grandson Teddy. The aunt claims that Teddy is the son of her daughter and Alexander. Katherine does not believe her, but the documents provided by the guests confirm her words, and Katherine agrees to leave the boy and his grandmother in the house. Sebastian is out of his mind. He is sure that Agnes is lying perhaps. Besides, he does not want to go back to live in the barn. The next day Katherine doesn't feel well. It turns out that she is pregnant. She runs to the barn to her lover to tell him the good news, but little Teddy asks her to take a walk with him and the woman agrees. After the walk she goes to her lover and even brings him some compote, but Sebastian is angry with her for letting Agnes and Teddy in, because of which he cannot live in the mansion. Back at the house, Katherine watches through the window as a woman and a boy play in the yard, but suddenly notices Sebastian. Running to look for him, she doesn't find him. A little later, she gets word that Teddy is missing. All the inhabitants of the estate rush to look for him. The first to find him is a boy in love, who sees the boy sitting by the river and barely suppresses the urge to bathe the hated child, but the voice of reason is stronger and he brings the frozen child into the house. But Agnes is outraged that some villain is giving orders. Offended, he returns to his doghouse to pack his things and move permanently to some hostel. But Katherine is unwilling to part with her favorite toy and is ready to keep him at any cost. So back at the mansion, Katherine sends the woman to rest and promises to look after the boy, and when Agnes leaves, she lets Sebastian in, and together they get rid of the extra air. By daylight, Sebastian realizes the horror of what he has done and sobs as he runs through the forest. Katherine appears to be concerned, but her desire for a better life for herself and her impending child takes precedence. In the morning, she unhappily reveals that Teddy succumbed to hypothermia near the river and was unable to deal with the cold. However, a doctor is also invited inside. After inspecting the child's body, he claims that such injuries do not occur from the cold, but Katherine, with a careless expression, continues to stand on his own, believing that her idea would be realized. What a story with mushrooms. Suddenly, Sebastian emerges from the woods and tells the audience the complete truth about Katherine and her activities. He even admits to being an accomplice to the last atrocity, but Katherine dismisses his involvement without blinking an eye. She claims the man is lying and that she is not to blame for framing Anna. She lies so effectively that Anna and Sebastian are arrested and imprisoned. Agnes, who has lost his grandson, leaves the mansion, and Katherine becomes its sole mistress.